The Cleveland Cavaliers select Evan Mobley.
Has been a historical franchise in this league for years.
We have a trade to announce. The Boston Celtics select Jason Tatum.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. Trevor Lane here. You can find me on Twitter at Trevor_Lane, on Instagram at Trevor Lane NBA, joined by Keith Smith. Find him on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA. The NBA trade season, it's officially started. We have a trade to break down. Cam Reddish to the Knicks. Nice deal for New York. We're going to break down what's going on there. What were the Hawks thinking? We'll try to piece that together. Plus, we have another trade that was voided. We've got more news on Ben Simmons and the 76ers. Still being difficult. But let's start with the trade that looks like it's actually going to happen here. Cam Reddish to the Knicks. Keith, what's this one going to look like?
Yeah, so Cam Reddish heads to the Knicks along with Solomon Hill. The Knicks will give up Kevin Knox and a first-round pick. The Knicks will also acquire a second-round pick, it sounds like, from the Hawks. Sometimes those details will tweak and change before a deal is made official. It's usually the players are pretty set. The main picks will be there, but it sounds like the pick the Hawks will get from the Knicks, it's a bonus pick from New York. It's actually going to be Charlotte's first-round pick. That comes with some protections. It's got 4 years of protections on it. It's protected 19 to 30 this year, so we'll see if that conveys or not. 17 to 30 next year, and then 15 to 30 in 2024 and 2025, or more commonly known lottery protected. Then if it doesn't convey in 2025, it turns into second rounders in 2026 and 2027. That's a bonus pick for the Knicks because the Knicks have all their own first round picks. Right. The Knicks also own a future first coming from the Mavericks that is top 10 protected, or at least they can get that as 2023. That's top 10 protected for 3 years through 2025. And then, like they generally do, turns into just a single second round pick, because at the time that was from the Kristaps Porzingis trade, you couldn't go out further than that 1 year. So anyway, the Knicks are giving up a pick that was an extra pick for them. And then, not to be disrespectful to the player, but Kevin Knox is not great. So that's just more of, here's how we make the salary work. That's the same for Solomon Hill coming in on the Knicks side. That's a salary thing. He will be likely waived, I'm guessing, by New York. When they come in, they will have to waive Ryan Arcidiacono from his 10-day contract early to complete this trade. But Hill is out for the season with an injury, so he's not likely to be any form of help for the Knicks. So my guess is they will waive him. And then they're going to get Cam Reddish, and they'll see what that looks like for the rest of this season.
How quickly did the Knicks say yes to this trade? Like, did they? I'm wondering, were the Hawks on the phone? They're negotiating, and the Knicks said, "Deal, stay on the line. We're going to get the NBA on the other end of this thing, on the other end right now. Don't go anywhere, and please don't talk to anybody, because somebody else would talk them out." To me, this just, it feels like terrible value for the Hawks for a young player that has shown some flash here, some potential. The Hawks, do you think they were just done? I'm having a hard time justifying this from the Hawks' perspective. Were they just completely out on Cam Reddish? Because this pick, it might convey this year, maybe, probably more likely next year, maybe the year after that. It could potentially become 2 second-round picks down the road. Sure. To me, this isn't a very enticing asset to pick up if the main thing you're getting is a potentially super late first-round pick.
Yeah, I think we'll jump over to the Hawks side real quick, and then we'll talk about what the Knicks are actually getting in Reddish in a second. So from the Hawks side, Reddish he's got 1 more year left on his rookie scale deal after this one. So he's under contract through next year, 22-23. But it's really that he's extension eligible this offseason. And that's where it starts to get a little tricky, right? Because if you're the Hawks, in the summer that his deal would kick in, so for the season that his deal would kick in 23-24, this is what's already on your books in guaranteed money. Trae Young at $38.5 million, most likely. We'll see if he qualifies for that designated veteran language or not. Then you have John Collins at $25.3, Clint Capella at $22.1, Bogdan Bogdanovic has an $18 million player option. That's probably an either or, pending how well he plays and what the market looks like that offseason. Kevin Herter, because remember, he signed an extension that'll kick in next year, but in the 23-24 season, he'll be on the books at $15.7 million. Then you've got Onyeka Okongwu on his last year, his rookie scale deal at 8.1. So without even doing the math, you can see that's expensive.
Sure.
And not only that, DeAndre Hunter, at the same time as Cam Reddish, is eligible for a contract extension. And Hunter, to this point, despite the injuries, has shown more as a higher end rotation player than Reddish. So my guess is the Hawks looked at this and said, we got to do something. It's time to start shaking things up here a little bit. This mix is not working. I mean, they're continuing to play poorly. They're still down out of even the play-in range right now. And it was an opportunity to, again, the Knox part of this, that's got nothing. I mean, I'd be stunned if they didn't like Jalen Johnson, who they drafted last year far more than Kevin Knox. But the reality is we're going to get a first round pick out of this, because the Hornets will convey that pick at some point. They will be good enough, but not so good that they'll convey that pick at some point here, and then that's probably where that goes. So that's my guess is, it's that's where it goes. Is to them, if not this year, probably next year or the year after, from the Hornets, because they don't look like they're gonna drop down into being a terrible lottery team anytime soon. So that's my guess is we're not going to pay him next year anyway. That's only going to become an issue. And here we go. And Hunter is back now. They've got kind of a stuffed wing rotation. So yeah, let's move on and get things moving in a different direction.
I guess my other question here is, if you're the Hawks, was this deal going anywhere? Or could you have done this deal a month from now almost at the trade deadline? Sure. And waited things out a bit more to see what else was out there. Just if I'm in my general sense and seeing reactions from Hawks fans, they're very underwhelmed by this. There had been rumblings of New York and the Hawks talking. A lot of Hawks fans were thinking, "Oh, then we must be getting Emmanuel quickly." Something like that you can bring in and say, "Okay, our team is now better." I don't think they did that. So I think there's frustration from Hawks fans based on this trade. And I can't say I blame them. I don't think they got great value. Financially, it makes sense, but that can be hard to sell to fans.
Yeah, it definitely can be. I think that is, as far as your question of was this still going to be there? I mean, maybe not. Maybe the Knicks said, hey, we're chopping Knox in this pick to this team or this team or this team. Because if that's what you're kind of looking for is a younger wing with some upside, that's your package and off you go. So my guess is it really becomes a situation for the Hawks of Hunter's back, Herter's playing, Bogdanovic is back. They do like to still play Gallo at the 3 on occasion. We just don't have room for Cam Reddish. And then what happens to his trade value if all of a sudden he's not playing or not playing very much? Then does he? And I don't know, and I don't want to put this on him, but a lot of times we see then it becomes a problem, right? Hey, you're shopping me. Now you're not playing me. Like, what are you doing? You're tanking my trade value and all this stuff. So my guess is if you're the Hawks, it was, let's just move now. Let's continue to get going and go from there. So that's where I think it would be from their side. Now, from the Knicks side, what are you getting in Cam Reddish, right? Because that's what you're going to look at.
Right.
He has not been the player I think some people think he is. I think people see that name, Duke player,
right?
Started a lot his first couple years when he was healthy for the Hawks, but first 2 years shot under 40% from the field. 38.4% as a rookie. All right, we can throw a lot of stuff with rookie seasons out and say, okay, whatever. But the second year, 36.5% in 26 games. So now, not massive sample sizes, but still this year in 34 games, it's better, but it's still only 40% from the field. And roughly half his attempts come from behind the arc, where he is pretty good, 37.9%. So what you're really getting in Cam Reddish is a guy who can score, shoot, can do a little bit off the dribble. He's pretty good in transition as far as getting out and running. he's an okay defender. He's not like a wing stopper or anything, but
No,
he's competitive. He hangs in there. Passing is his rebounding is not great.
no.
It's nothing to really write home about. So, but if you're the Knicks, they don't have a ton on the wing behind Fournier and Barrett, because Burks is transitioning to being more of an on-ball ball handler type guy for them. So why not? I mean, this is again kind of a almost a no-brainer for them of just go get a kid and see what it looks like for the next year. They don't necessarily have to extend him this summer. They can say, hey, we're going to let it play out one more year and go in restricted free agency and keep all their flexibility. The Knicks really lost nothing in this trade. And if Reddish develops and turns out, this is a home run for them.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're the Knicks, you can approach this a little differently than the Hawks, right? The Hawks,
Yeah.
they know this kid. They've seen him for years now. The Knicks,
Yep.
Knicks can say, well, we're going to see how you fit in our system and everything. Let's let things play out, and then we'll take care of you come restricted free agency when we get to that. I don't think they feel quite as much pressure to extend him, but this is the kind of gamble that you take. If you're the Knicks, and this is still a gamble, right? Even a protected first is still something, right? And it's possible that Cam Reddish doesn't pan out at all in New York, and they wind up not bringing him back, and that's it. That certainly could happen. It's not what I'm expecting to happen, but it could happen. But this is the kind of gamble that you take because you're gambling on a wing with some potential, and that's something that has value in the NBA. Teams need big wings. This guy's 6'8". He's shown the ability to this season to shoot the three a little bit. Hopefully that continues, and the Knicks are able to continue to develop him, and then they really got a steal here. This is a low risk, probably medium to high reward, depending on what Cam Reddish turns into.
I would say it's a no risk. I would even say no risk.
I mean,
you get the pick.
A protected first it's something, right? So there's
minimal risk.
Minimal risk.
Yeah,
that's a good way to put it.
Minimal upside, probably. A couple minor things just to close the books on this one. Hawks create an open roster spot that could have some value now they have a bonus pick that they could trade, because I believe, let me just double check. I think they have all of their own first as well, and they do. So now they have a bonus pick. I don't think the Hawks are done. We're 4 weeks from today, as we're recording this on Thursday the 13th. We're 4 weeks from today to the NBA trade deadline on Thursday, February 3rd. By this time, we'll probably be going live-ish on that day.
Yes.
Maybe right around then. We're talking about going live a couple hours before the deadline so we can act all crazy and react with everybody in the moment. But the reality is Atlanta's still got work to do, and I think it's clear. I mean, they're involved in all sorts of stuff out there. Where there's if we really get into it, Jake Fisher dropped one of those kind of notebook pieces with a million different items in it about here's what teams are doing, and the Hawks were prominently mentioned. So I'm not I don't want to fully judge their side yet until let's see where this all goes with them, because if they turn and flip that pick into something else, then
True.
Then they turn and flip that pick.
And we should mention the open roster spot is something as well. They generate an open roster spot by this. Now it's possible, but that it's nothing. But what if they have another trade lined up and they needed that roster spot in order to facilitate that trade? This could wind up looking better for the Hawks. That's not out of the question.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Let's see where that ultimately goes from there. Trade we thought was happening, that is now not, is the Bol Bol trade.
Yes.
Mike Singer of the Denver Post was the first one to break the news that the trade has been voided by the Detroit Pistons. Bol failed a physical with Detroit, as is their right. They voided the trade, and it is now going to turn into do those guys just go back? So kind of everything we had said about the Bol Bol trade the other day, you could just erase all that from your memory, because that's now done. This is highly unlikely to be one of those where it's reworked with additional compensation. It's just not worth it to Denver to send more out here. So Bol will revert back to the Nuggets, Rodney Magruder back to the Pistons. The trade exception the Nuggets created will go away. The biggest single intrigue is James Ennis already is wearing Bol Bol's number 10 jersey. So what happens there on his 10-day contract? So we'll see. But in reality, not a whole heck of a lot changes with that. So but yeah, it's off because of the injury to Bol.
maybe a little bit of awkwardness as those guys return to their prior teams, walking in. Hey guys, how's it going? So that certainly is. It's a rarity, but it does happen every now and then in the NBA where trade gets voided.
Glad you went there.
Okay.
There have been 5 trades voided, officially voided, not reworked because of something or something else.
So not David Stern.
One to the Lakers is not one of them. I tweeted about this and people got all excited. So there's been 5 in recent memory. I will tell you the Pistons have been parts of 3 of them, which is a little odd of the most recent 5. Do you remember? Can you remember the other 4? So the Bol Bol trade is one.
One that jumps out to me is, and I don't know I don't recall the Pistons if they were involved in this, but the Tyson Chandler trade as being a trade that was voided.
He went to the Oklahoma City Thunder and they voided it because of a toe injury.
Right, and I remember that. Yep. I don't remember if the Pistons were involved somehow as like a third team or something. No,
Pistons were not involved. Nope.
I didn't think so.
New Orleans Hornets then sending Tyson Chandler to the Oklahoma City Thunder in 2009. So, that's 2.
Wasn't there some back and forth on the James Harden trade initially where it was done and then it wasn't?
Yeah, so that one's a little murkier. Did that actually get done and voided because of the Karis LeVert situation, or was it just reworked before it was completed? Much like the Kyrie Irving situation when he went from Cleveland to Boston because of Isaiah Thomas. So I did not count that one in there. I went off of 5 that were truly done and then voided after the fact.
There was something that happened. A European player.
Yep. You're right around it. Houston Rockets.
Madi Yunus? Was that who?
Donatas Yunus.
Okay.
Yep,
okay.
Well done. 2016 went from the Rockets to the Pistons, and they said his failed D physical because of his back. Surprisingly, with this, Donatas Yunus tweeted at Woj about the voided trade. How many times will the NBPA let this happen? Which is absolutely hilarious.
That's great.
I thought that was really, really fun.
That's great. But I think that's all I can think of off the top of my head.
So we're going back in the past a little bit here.
We're going way back.
Okay. The Nets were set to acquire Sharif Abdur-Rahim from the Portland Trailblazers.
Oh, okay.
That one because of the Nets. It never fully came out, but it was later unofficially came out that it was his knee issue. Sharif Abdur-Rahim said he had no knee problem. So the rumors that the Nets just got cold feet on the deal. But he never played for them. So that was one in 2005. And then all the way back to 1994, Sean Elliott was traded from San Antonio. He'd been traded from San Antonio to Detroit, and then he was sent to the Houston Rockets in a trade that was going to give the Pistons Robert Horry and Matt Bullard. Then Houston said Elliott didn't pass his physical, and they voided the trade. And Sean Elliott returned back to the Pistons, and then ultimately he left the Pistons and went back to the Spurs, and then was part of I think their early championship teams with Tim Duncan and David Robinson. So there's a little history on voided trades. Again, Chris Paul one, not part of it because that trade was never done. I know that's a sore spot for Lakers fans, but that was no different than any other ownership group saying, "Nah, we're not doing this." Just happened to be the league.
It was a little different. I mean, functionally, yes, it was. That's what happened.
It was
but
awful return.
We know there were a lot of other factors in there.
Yeah, I mean, it was Chris Paul for a bag of donuts and some crap. So
what they eventually got? Yes, you are correct.
Yeah, well, that didn't work out all that great either. It looked better in the time with that. So but Bol Bol trade is off. We'll see. Hopefully, that is the only voided trade we'll get at the trade deadline. And history tells us it will be, as it had been 6 years since the last one.
Yes. Well, I mean, and you know what? This can be disruptive for teams when you have a trade that you think is going through and then last minute something like this happens. So it's not something that you want to see. You don't want to see trades get voided. So hopefully it's not something we see again anytime soon.
Yeah. Yep.
Speaking of things that we didn't want to see, God, rumor broke that somehow the 76ers are actually raising their asking price for Ben Simmons. This just, ever since this Simmons thing started, there has been this sense out there from other teams that the 76ers don't actually want to make a trade. And the reason why they're getting that sense is because of the asking price. And now, if it's getting out that the 76ers are actually asking for more than they were at the beginning of the season, that again just kind of reinforces this idea that for whatever reason, the 76ers don't want to make a trade. There's a point where you're driving a hard bargain. There's a point where you are where you're trying to get the best deal for your team and all of that kind of stuff. But you go too far and you just wind up pushing other teams away because they're like, you're out of your mind. There's no way that we're giving up all of this, including Tobias Harris. To some franchises that might be pushing things too far, but still, that's not good news for anybody that was hoping to see Simmons traded by the trade deadline.
No, and what I will say is, to some extent, good for Daryl Morey for sticking to his principles on this and saying he's a great player and I'm not trading him for anything that isn't a great return. I've already said my piece that I worry about losing a year of Embiid's prime and all these other things, but the reality is I totally get it. I fully understand why from their side, it's not the decision I would make, but I get why it is, no, we're going to stick with what we believe is, we have to get a really good return. Now I do wonder, this is opposing teams are saying they're raising the price. Are they putting that out there to try to have Philly then come back and be like, oh wait, no, we're not. We're just in that season as those in the league refer to it. It's that this time in the draft, it's lion season because everybody's telling lies about who they like, who they don't like, and what they like for packages and everything else. So it is it's one of those things where we're gonna see ultimately where this goes. I still think he gets traded in the next 4 weeks before the deadline. I just really struggle to see how you take this into next off season. I just can't imagine it.
I agree. I think it's going to happen. But if this is, and I like that you brought up that this is, like you said, lying season, right? There's posturing. A lot of this is going to be, negotiations through the media. We're going to see more and more of that stuff. So we have to factor that in here. And of course, when we look at who benefits, it's the other teams that benefit. Because everybody looks at the 76ers and they just go, oh, these guys are nuts. Why would they be raising the price right now? So if this is true, though, that they're actually raising the price, I think it makes it less likely that there is a deal. But this, again, very well could just be posturing, just negotiating through public perception and that sort of thing going on. It does make a lot of sense for a deal to get done by the deadline because, like you said, you don't want to go into next offseason still with this hanging over you. What assets could you have gotten to help the 76ers come playoff time if you were able to get a deal done? Makes a lot of sense to make a move right now. And it also makes sense from Daryl Morey's perspective to push for the best deal that you can because the clock is ticking until that trade deadline. So pushing back now to get those offers as high as possible is probably a smart move as well. But again, if this is actually true, that they're simply raising the price and consistently raising it, then I could see where a deal doesn't get done.
Yeah, that's where it becomes, you can get caught. It's like, getting in an auction and you're just, I always think of it like in fantasy sports when you're trying to price enforce on somebody in an auction league and you're like, I'm not going to let people, get this guy for this cheap. And then all of a sudden you're stuck with a player you didn't really want because, you kept raising the price on it. So yeah, you just got to be cautious with that. Couple more small pieces of news.
Yeah.
The Milwaukee Bucks made a two-way change. They waived Javonte Smart from his two-way, and they're going to sign Lindell Wigginton to a two-way guard, with a little bit more size coming in than Smart. That tells me that Drew Holiday is expected back fairly soon, I'm guessing, for them because Smart's more of a on-ball ball handler guy from my recollection than Wigginton is. Kevin Durant's going to actually get a rest night tonight. He hasn't gotten one of those in a while. So that's he's going to get that along with Patty Mills. Fortunately, it comes against the Oklahoma City Thunder, but in Brooklyn. So a little bit of a different story, but they'll also clearly be without Kyrie Irving because it's a home game. And then they're going to have, so be James Harden and some dudes out there for the Nets. But sometimes we've seen that kind of go okay. And then we've got the All-Star votes are in the next round of returns. If we just want to cover those real quick.
Sure.
Top overall vote getter, Stephen Curry. At almost 4.5 million.
Yep.
LeBron James right behind him at 4.4 million. Then in the so the tops in the West are LeBron, Nikola Jokic, and Andrew Wiggins. In the backcourt, it's Stephen Curry and John Morant. Jumped ahead of Luka Doncic, so that's fun and well earned. Speaking of John Morant, did you see this whole thing with the jerseys? Did you see this whole thing from the Warriors game the other day?
No, I saw.
I guess you did.
No, but I did.
Late in that game, he scored like a really big bucket.
Right.
And this kid kind of sitting on the baseline jumped up and was like excited and yelling at him. And Ja was kind of like, dude, like, that's great, but you're in a Curry jersey. So after the game, and I'm very much paraphrasing, he said something like, hey, man, I want to see our kids in Grizzlies jerseys. Wear my jersey, wear Jaren Jackson Jr.'s jersey. Right. The Grizzlies yesterday announced that today at 5 p.m., fans 12 and under, can turn in any opposing team jersey that they have for a new John Morant or Jaren Jackson Jr. jersey and 2 tickets to an upcoming game.
That's smart. That's
incredible.
Smart. That's
right?
smart
So
by the Grizzlies.
Awesome. Like that, and that's how you get fans for life, right?
Yep.
Like you get some kid gets a Ja jersey and gets to go to a game for free just by giving up some other jersey he had. So it was funny. I said, man, if it wasn't such a drive, I'd drive up and my daughter has a jersey I'd return and it doesn't fit her anymore and go get her a John Morant jersey and see a game. But yeah, that was just kind of a fun aside there. Back to the All-Star voting. So those are your West starters by the second fan vote.
Right.
The East starters would be Kevin Durant's the top vote getter in the East. So remember, that would mean Curry and Durant would be the team captains. Kind of fun there. At 4.1 million, Giannis behind him at 3.8 million. The other front court guy, Joel Embiid at 2.4 million. And then DeMar DeRozan easily almost double the votes of the second guard in the East, which is also crap because DeMar DeRozan does not play guard and has not played guard in several years now. But whatever. He's the top guard. Trae Young second at 1.6 million. So DeRozan's almost at 3 million votes. Trae Young at about 1.6 million votes. So that's where it'd be, as a reminder, 50% of the voting goes to the fans, 25% to the players, and 25% to the media. And then that's how this is all decided out.
This is pretty surprising when I'm looking at this. I mean, how is Andrew Wiggins getting more votes than Luka?
Yeah.
Like that, and I'm not saying Andrew Wiggins has been bad because he hasn't been. He's been good. But should he be beating Luka in terms of votes? No, I mean
Warriors, right?
But still,
look who's fourth. Look who's fourth in the West.
Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
Like among guards. And then Chris Paul is 7th and Russell Westbrook is 6th. Yeah. That makes no sense.
Yeah, people vote crazy on
Yeah.
this stuff. I mean, Kyrie's 6th in the East in votes.
This is why they do this though, having the 50% go to fans and other because of crazy results like this.
Now I'll tell you right now too, anybody who screams and yells this is stupid, the players should decide if they're the ones playing. I've been in locker rooms at the time when the players votes are due, when they're saying, hey Trevor, you vote for me and I'll vote for you.
Yeah,
because you can vote for whoever you want except for yourself. So it's not nobody does this stuff for real reasons. In the end, I don't get too worked up on it. It is the All-Star game is for the fans.
Yes.
The fans want to see certain guys. Great. Let's move on. It is tough because we do use things like he was a 10-time All-Star as part of a player resume and those kind of conversations. But I trust that when we get into the coaches voting, that's generally handled more cleanly. And again, this doesn't impact like designated player language on contracts anymore or anything like that. That's all NBA and all defense and those kind of things now. But
To be honest, I pay more attention to the Saturday night stuff on All-Star Weekend,
Oh,
the shootout,
yeah,
the
I
dunk
don't watch
contest, stuff like that, than the actual All-Star game.
Yeah.
You know,
I
for
usually
reasons.
put it on while I'm doing
Yes.
other stuff, hanging out with the family. Sometimes I don't even watch it at all. I don't. It's all I want to know is, did everybody make it out healthy?
Yes,
Good.
right. That's
All
all.
right, let's get on to the season. Yeah, Saturday night though, I'm locked in. I love All-Star Saturday night.
Yeah,
One of
that's a
my
lot of fun.
favorites. Yeah. So
All right. Well,
All right.
busy day. We've
Yeah.
got a trade. We had another trade get voided. We had more news on Simmons. All kind of stuff going down here. But appreciate everybody joining us. Appreciate all of our new subscribers. We've got a lot of those recently. And if you're
Yeah.
not among those,
Oh,
make
yeah.
sure you do hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to turn on notifications as well. Whew, this is a fun one. I wonder if we're going to have to come back later today because there's going to be more stuff going on. We'll see.
I hope so.
Yep.
It's I am now I informed the family. I'm now full on. Phone doesn't go on silent for the next 4 weeks. So we get woken up in the middle of the night because of a random Mark Stein tweet about soccer. Well, so be it.
We are on high alert here, people.
Yep.
High alert.
Yeah, get my notifications on. I got my list ready to go. I am locked in and ready for the trade deadline 4 weeks away.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Till next time, stay safe and see ya.